welcome back to INF People. Today I want to talk a little bit about Daenerys Targaryen and Season 8 of Game of Thrones in general. So let me just say right away that there will be spoilers for everything in Game of Thrones up to episode 5 of season 8. So spoiler warning if you haven't seen episode 5. So let's just get right into it. So a little bit ago I made a video about Daenerys Targaryen being an INFP. And I'm sort of having an existential crisis over it. I mean, I still think she's an INFP, but after what happened on episode 5, it's just everything is just different. But so I want to talk about like season 8 and like what's been going on with the writing and how it's been rushed, and and then especially about what happened during the end of episode 5. So there's sort of been two camps on the internet lately. So a lot of people are disappointed in season 5. They think that there's been bad writing, that the season has been rushed. They haven't been fulfilling people's character arcs or satisfying us as an audience, and everything just seems sort of rushed and not really well written, like Game of Thrones had been in the past, especially the first 4 seasons. And then there's another side that's saying that the writing is still good, they're subverting our expectations, and that's what Game of Thrones has always been about, and everything. So don't get mad just because what you expected to happen didn't happen and things like that. And it's like, okay, yes, expectations have been subverted, but that doesn't just subverting expectation doesn't make something good. Like in the first few seasons, they subverted expectations, but they did it in a good way with good writing, good pacing, good storytelling, and it all made sense within the context of the show, and like what the characters would do, and how they did it. It all made sense. But now they're subverting our expectation by just throwing things from left field, like all kinds of stuff, like Arya killing the Night King, Dany flipping so quickly. It's one of okay. So let me just say this: it's not people. I don't think that most people are upset so much with the outcomes, with things that are happening. Like I'm fine with Arya killing the Night King. Really, I thought that she was the best person to go after, like the generals and stuff, because she's an assassin, and I thought that Jon would end up killing the Night King just because he's been having this, like, they've just been building up to that. I thought he would at least fight the Night King. That's something that a lot of people are upset about too, and I'm upset about that too, that Jon didn't at least fight him. I would have been fine with it if Jon fought the Night King and then maybe he was losing and Arya came in and finished him off or something like that. Or just Jon got a chance to fight him one-on-one, but that's okay. But so it's not so much the things that are happening that have people upset. It's the way that they're happening, the way everything is rushed, and the way things are being executed. So the one side is saying, oh, about Dany going full Mad Queen and burning the whole city of King's Landing. So some people are saying, oh well, if you didn't expect, or if you're surprised by that, you haven't been paying attention. Yeah, there's been clues. There's been things that have happened that make that make sense, that she would eventually become the Mad Queen and go mad. But that doesn't, like, clues and foreshadowing. I think it was Jeremy John said in his video something great. He said, foreshadowing does not equal character development. Just because there's been clues about a character having the potential to go crazy, or to fulfill like the Targaryen madness, it's in her blood and all this, just because we know about these things and there have been clues throughout the season, like small things, it doesn't mean that it was executed properly. So I just want to talk about like why I think it wasn't executed well, and why the season has just been rushed in general. Like most of the stuff that's been happening that people are so mad about could have just been solved by having more episodes. Like even if they just, like, some people want extra seasons, but I think they could have made it decent even if they would have just had like 10 episodes this season. And slow things down and let things build up the way they should and the way they used to in the show. So with Danny, the people that are saying like, "Oh, you haven't been paying attention," blah blah blah. Yeah, we get that she had the potential to go mad. It's been like sort of a thing like, oh, it's 50-50. Like they said, you could flip a coin with a Targaryen, and they might be a great leader and good for the people, or they might be crazy like Daenerys' dad, the Mad King. But I guess with their batch, there were two bad apples, and Rhaegar was the only one that was good out of them. So yes, there have been clues throughout the series, like Dany, she's talked about burning down cities before. She's burned all these people. She's done, and like she kind of does it with like with no remorse when she burns people. But so the things that have been happening. So this is my problem with it. The way they executed it, and not just in this season, but just in general, like the way the show has gone. So yeah, Dany has been burning people since season one. Basically, she's done stuff that now looking back in retrospect, we can be like, oh yeah, that was crazy. And I like that it's interesting when you can go back and watch a show with new information and everything is different, and you start noticing a whole bunch of different stuff. That's good. And if they would have executed this well, then that would have been great. I would have been like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Like the person that was my favorite character ended up being the biggest villain in the whole show. But just the way they did it, like Dany was probably like the best, like the morally best character in the show for 7.5 seasons. Like besides maybe Jon, she's just been like, there's nobody that has been more good than her, or like making a conscious effort to be good. Like even the times that she did things like burning people, or like when she defeated her enemies and stuff, as an audience, the audience was always meant to be on her side. So like when and it was always like these people had it coming. The people that she burned or like defeated in the past, it was like, for the audience, it was a fulfilling moment for us, because we were like, yeah, those people, they were like, they were slavers, or they were bad in this way, and like they deserved that punishment, or like whatever happened, like the audience was on Daenerys' side. And that was until the first time Daenerys really did something that the audience was meant to like pause and think like, oh, whoa, wait a second, what's going on? Was when in season 7, when Daenerys burned Sam Tarly's father and brother for not bending the knee. That was one of the first times where the audience was meant to be like, oh, okay, what's going on? She's going a little bit overboard here. Like the music was different. Usually when Dany does something like that, the music is triumphant, and we're meant to be like, yeah, go Dany, great job. But that was one of the first times where it was like, the music was somber, and the other characters were looking at her like, whoa, what's going on? Did I make the right choice by following her? Like the way Tyrion was looking at her and things like that. So that was the first instance of the audience not being on, or the audience not supposed to be on Dany's side. And then right after that, she went right back to being the hero that she's always been. Like she had a little bit of an attitude. So since that point, kind of, just like since she's been in Westeros, she's sort of been a little bit colder than normal, but she was still like, she went right back to being a hero, and so after that, she was just her normal self. She could have gone and destroyed King's Landing at any time with both of her dragons before they even had all these different all the scorpion things to shoot down her dragon. She could have destroyed King's Landing at any time and taken over, and she was trying to be a good person and fight in a way so that innocent people wouldn't get killed. So that happened right after that. And then in season 8, she puts her ambitions on hold to go north and fight the Night King in the army of the dead, with no benefit to herself. Like that was just a selfless act that she was just going to do what was right. So again, she's still a hero in the eyes of everyone. This is season 8, that like a couple episodes ago. So in episode 3, she's still one of the main heroes of the show. It's episode 3 of the last season that has 6 episodes. She's still one of the biggest heroes. She without her, there's no way that the Night King would have been defeated. Without her and her dragons, nobody would have even gotten close to the Night King. So Daenerys is one of the main heroes of the Battle of Winterfell. And then after that, the next episode, all of a sudden, she's like super crazy and paranoid, and everyone is turning on her. Like in the course, so for 7.5 seasons, that's like 8.5 years for us watching. The whole show has been built up as her being a hero and her like being built up and like and going on this journey to help save people, free slaves, and just like all kinds of good things that she's been doing, and so up to 7.5 seasons, she's still this hero. She's still this morally good person who has a conscience and who almost always makes the right decisions. Almost always. Everybody in the show makes mistakes. One of the main things that's great about the show in the series is that there's no like black and white, like just a good guy and just a bad guy. So yeah, Dany has made mistakes like everyone else in the show, but she's been one of the like best people morally in the whole series. And that's in the books too. Even though her Targaryen madness decline has been more gradual in the books, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. That it's much better done in the books than it is in the show. But so season 7 or season 8, episode 3, she's still a hero. And then the next episode, she's super paranoid. She's jealous of Jon. Everybody's betraying her. Everybody's turning on her for no good reason because she hasn't done anything really wrong up to this point, and all of a sudden everyone is turning on her. Varys is turning on her. Sam has a good reason to not really be on her side, but like Jon is like not really wanting anything to do with her, and just all of a sudden she's just alone and just like that. So one episode, and then the next episode is episode 5. She just goes completely mad within the space of 2 episodes. So yes, there have been clues. There was foreshadowing that she might go mad, but for it to happen, for her to flip the switch just like that, it's not good writing. Like I don't care how much foreshadowing there was. It's just not. It wasn't well written. It wasn't well executed. I'm not even mad that Daenerys became the Mad Queen. That's actually great. That's great storytelling. So it's just there's all these things that were built up, and then they just finished them so quickly. Like the Night King story has been building since the very opening episode of the show, and even the prologue of the books is that opening scene in the show where we see the White Walkers for the first time. So all that build up over all these books, all these seasons, and the Night King arrives at the end of an episode. The next episode they fight him, and he's dead by the end of that episode. So he was a threat for one episode, even though he was this looming menace the entire series. And it's the same thing with Dany. Now she's the villain, she's the big bad of the whole show, and she will be dealt with in one episode because there's only one episode left. So we don't get to see like her reign of terror, like people having to live under her rule of tyranny, and she just became bad. In one episode, the next episode she's going to be dealt with. It's like that. How is that satisfying in any way? Because it's a cool idea that now we can go back and look and see that Dany's story was not a hero's journey; it was the villain's journey. So now we in retrospect we can look back and think like, oh, all those tragic things that happened to her, these are the things that made her become a villain. Like all these bad things, like she had to be her home was taken from her. She had to run away with her brother. Her brother abused her. He was a bad person to her all her life. Then she got forced to marry somebody she didn't even know or love. She was raped and then ended up, even though she ended up loving him eventually, and even that is like that would become your first love, this guy that you didn't know, and he forced himself upon you. Like that's what love is to her. Like, so we see all these bad things that have happened to her, and we realize like, oh, okay, so this is the story of how the Mad Queen became the Mad Queen. Like, that's what her story arc is. But you can't just flip the switch so quickly and make it fulfilling. Like, yeah, we've seen the bad stuff happen to her, and we've seen like hints and stuff, but just the way she switched so quickly, it just wasn't, it didn't work right, it didn't work well. And this is the thing, is that the showrunners now are still following like the main beats that George R. R. Martin gave them, and so I think that this is what's going wrong, is that George R. R. Martin told them, okay, this is supposed to happen, that is supposed to happen, and that is supposed to happen. So the writers are just they're just writing the characters towards all those points, instead of letting the characters naturally lead themselves to these different points. And since there's so little time, they can't do it in any kind of good way or satisfying way. There's just no way they could do that and make it good in 6 episodes. Like, now that I see like where this is all going, some of the things I didn't like before are okay. Like the Night King dying in episode 3. That's fine now that Daenerys is the big bad. Now that we know Daenerys is the big bad. The thing that made the Night King dying so soon so bad, such there seemed so bad, was that now Cersei was the big bad. Like, who cares? Like, that's not a big deal. Like, yeah, she's mean and not nice or anything, but she shouldn't be the big bad of the show. But Daenerys is a legitimate threat and a legitimate power, like, unto herself. Not just because she has political power, but she's a scary person. Like, if she's bad, it's scary because her dragon is that powerful. So now I'm more okay with the Night King dying soon, because Daenerys is the big bad. But it still wasn't executed well. Like, if we could have had at least a few more episodes of her slowly descending into this Targaryen madness. Like, it just happened so quickly. It was just like almost overnight. Like, she's a big hero, and then overnight she's the biggest villain of the entire show. Like, nobody has been as bad as what she just did in episode 5. Like, not Cersei, not Littlefinger, not the Night King. Like, nobody has done anything on this level. These are war crimes. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's always been her goal to protect the innocent, to do what's right for the little people, and it just all of a sudden she's just mowing down innocent civilians. Like, there were barely even any soldiers in those city streets that she was mowing down. It just made no sense that she could go from what she was to what she became that quickly. And I don't care, like, there's no switch that you can flip in somebody that would make them switch that quickly to just a completely different person. Like, she's not anything close to anything that we've ever seen before. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, it's not that her eventually becoming the Mad Queen doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense how quickly she became crazy when she was just fine 2 episodes ago, which was, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago in the show, because didn't they? I think they took the boats down there, so it wasn't that long that she was like that. It just, I don't know. So I won't mind if the same things happen in the books, like if she becomes the Mad Queen and she ends up being the main villain, as long as but I know that George R. R. Martin will flesh it out and make it so that it makes sense when she finally does go full on Mad Queen. We'll be like, okay, yeah, that was really all that could happen, or it was 50-50. We were hoping that she didn't go crazy, but it's too bad she did. But it's just the thing isn't that, so when people say it's bad writing, it's not necessarily the things that are happening, it's the way that they're happening. They just haven't had enough time to play out. And it's sad because it's like, especially after how great Endgame was, like Endgame exceeded most people's expectations. Like I had high hopes for it, and I was just like, oh yeah, it might be good, it might not be, but it was so much better than I thought it was possible that it could be. And then so it kind of gave me like this false sense of hope for Game of Thrones too. Like, wow, if Endgame could be that good after all they did, and brought it all together and had all these satisfying story arcs ending in such a way that's so fulfilling. Like, we knew that Game of Thrones wasn't going to end happily, but that doesn't mean that you can't be fulfilled just because it's not happy. Like, you can make tragic story arcs that are still fulfilling to the audience. That's like, oh man, like yeah, it's sad that happened, but that was a good story arc. Like that was really powerful. But the way they're ending it so abruptly and just rushing everything, it's just you can't be satisfied with it. Like, as an audience, like, yeah, it's entertaining, and the production value, the direction, the acting, everything is still good. It's just the writing is so rushed. It just ruins the whole experience. It's ruining the whole ending and kind of sullying the show as a whole. So it's really sad, and it's yeah, and it's really sad to see Daenerys just so poorly written. Like, not even that she turned bad, but it just like that it just was just so poorly done. Yeah, I'm going. Video is getting really long, so I'll just cut it off there. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I felt about what was going on and what the people that are saying that it's bad writing, what they really mean. They don't just mean that it's just that the outcomes are bad. It's just the way things are going, like, or the way they're executing these things it's not satisfying. It's not well done. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Peace and love.